Matriarch Elizabeth was so far beyond furious that she had circled back around to being perfectly calm. She stood before the cast leaders, who were still alive in her command, staring them down as none dare meet her gaze. The operation against the humans had not gone well. At first things seemed to be in order. Their ships met minimal resistance, and the colonists were bombed and captured relatively easily, albeit with more difficulty than most species. Then the Americans struck back, and their core system Viranath had been utterly annihilated. They were still going over the reports, trying to figure out how the Americans had managed to get a fleet so deep into their territory without anyone knowing. They glassed most of the cities, and sent ground troops to take R&D facilities scattered over the planet. Once they'd taken all they could, they destroyed the facilities as they left the planet. In the wake of their destruction, they had also left a recording from the Americans' leader. He simply stated that if the Crustacans continued to attack civilian targets, Americans would continue to attack civilian targets. The hunter-killer teams had managed to kill or capture about 20,000 human colonists, mostly thanks to seizing the colony transport en route to an outlying agri-world. Meanwhile, when the humans struck Viranath, they'd killed around 500 million, including the hunter-killers in orbit. The matriarchs were furious at having terms dictated to them in such a fashion, but if they didn't agree, the Americans would wipe them out before they could prepare an actual defense. They left behind a number of the captured colonists to return the message that civilian targets would be left alone. But this wasn't the worst of it. Indeed, after they pulled back with about 5,000 captives, other teams had moved on the Libertonian colony, and while they brushed aside their initial orbital defense and landed on the planet, another human fleet showed up, landing massive numbers of ground troops which completely halted the first Crustacan invasion. The reports from the field were very disturbing indeed. These humans couldn't fly on their own like Libertonians, but some of their number had something called jetpacks, which let them fly just as well. Then there were reports of humans who had some sort of adaptive skin that could change colours. How else could they explain why a team of hunter-killers would scour an area before advancing, only to be picked off with a long-range ballistic weapon from an area they found no humans in just minutes ago? The energy shields that had been standard use in the galaxy for centuries were proving useless against these sorts of weapons. Thankfully, the humans didn't have the tech to employ such shields, and it appeared for now they lacked biogel. But how long this would last, the matriarch didn't know. The main reason she stared down her surviving caste leaders had nothing to do with the ongoing invasion and war, however. It had everything to do with the Pluvium Museum on the planet beneath her ship. How is it that 2 individuals killed so many of your teams? 2! Matriarch, they stole the Libertonian power suit. And we had matter slammers. It should have gone down in a few hits. Well... The caste leaders felt quiet. No one knew the answers, really. By all rights, they should have killed the 2 terrorists easily. But instead they lost almost all the squads they sent. There were more than 2. 5 more showed up, one ventured, as the matriarch hissed and approached that caste leader. After we had cornered the 2 injured ones? And how is it those 5 showed up? There were no reports of human ships in the area. Where did they come from? They didn't just... She gestured with her claws. Fall out of the sky now, did they? The caste leaders were quiet as she paced back and forth in front of them, hissing and chittering. Her hydrating mucus had been yellow for a full sleep cycle, which indicated how dangerous she was right now. Finally, she calmed down enough to continue. That ship has not left orbit. That infernal blinding cylinder they had kept me from tearing them to pieces when I arrived, but I know I saw it fly out towards the wilderness. There were 5 of some sort of black exoskeleton-like species, a Libertonian and 1 injured human. 7 terrorists alone and stranded on this planet without support. You will find them. Her limbs twitched in anger, and she thought about how close she had been to ripping them apart before they stunned her with those bright flashes. Matriarch, about the human captives we're transporting here. We'll use them as bait to lure the others out. She waved a claw dismissively, but then turned to the one who'd mentioned it. Did you acquire pictures of them? The young cast leader handed her a data slate, as she looked at it in curiosity. They come in different colours? How interesting. Does that change the flavour? The young cast leader wasn't aware of the matriarch's particular diet. Taste? I don't... Never mind. I'll take that one, and this one. Have them delivered to my hunting grounds, she said, tapping on the picture. Strip them first. I don't want to be picking fibres out of my teeth. Then the young cast leader made a grave mistake. Your hunting grounds. But matriarch, these are prisoners of war. Besides strict council laws, the Americans were very specific. He didn't get any further, as she hissed and charged him, her forelegs piercing his body as she bit his head off in a single bite, spitting it out, and then tossing the body into a wall, leaving the cracked shell to be picked over by the juveniles. She hissed out, as the cast leader shifted and skittered away from her. When you find that injured human, you will bring him to me as well. I swear that I shall feast upon this Billy Bob, space trucker. There was a groan as he slowly opened his eyes, and as he saw some big black bug standing over him, he jerked in surprise. Then, before he could try and attack, or anything else, the figure raised its hands. Whoa, settle down there. I'm human. Billy Bob relaxed then, as he tried to figure out where he was. It took him a few seconds before realizing he was in his bed in his cabin. Mittens was sitting on the counter at the back of the ship, staring at him, but it looked like it was just him and The fuck are you? Billy Bob finally said, still feeling woozy and lightheaded. Archangel. Oh, holy shit, I didn't think I rated that high. Maybe some jarheads and a cruise missile or two. No, the bigwigs decided you're worth a lot more than that. Billy Bob groaned a little, as he shifted in his bed and then paused, tossing the sheets down from his upper body as he pulled his right arm up to reveal his arm. He turned it over slowly, opening and closing his hand as he did. Then he frowned a little. You look disappointed. I was kind of hoping to find a robot arm. Harder, faster, strong, and all that. The figure chuckled. Never found someone disappointed to get their arm back after losing it. Besides, we're on your ship. Unless you've got a fully stocked medical suite and some spare robot arms around. Fair enough. How? That purple gunk your friend had. She used all of it on you, so don't lose your arm again, 'cause there isn't any more. What is that stuff, anyway? I've never seen someone heal up so fast. You'd have to ask Dr. Goldsmith. He gave it to me. Ah, a doctor gave it to you. No wonder I couldn't read the writing on the side. It was such a bad scribble, my translator tried reading it. He's not human. He's one of those space goblins. What? A Xeno named Goldsmith? Yeah, that's what I said, but you met Emily, right? Yeah, but I thought that was a fluke. No, apparently more Xenos have normal names than we thought. Speaking of, what's yours? The figure reached up then, tugging at the black helmet and pulling it away, to reveal a woman with dark skin and a shaved head. Khaleesi Johnson, medic and demo expert. Khaleesi? God, I haven't heard of anyone with that name in ages. Yeah, it's old-fashioned, but I was named after my great-grandmother. Billy Bob shrugged at that. It's kind of ironic, but that sounds like more of a Xeno name than Emily. The woman smirked at that, and then turned as someone entered the cabin through the airlock. He didn't hear the engines, so they had to be on a planet somewhere. There were two more of those black armored figures, which he now recognized as new Special Forces power suits. They were a far cry from that beast Emily had been piloting. But it was good to see humans were starting to catch up on tech. "How's he doing, Cal?" "Good enough to fuck your mother," Billy Bob quickly shouted, and laughed before groaning and clutching his ribs. "Worth it." The assembled archangels chuckled at his outburst. "Seriously though, sir, he's in remarkable shape for someone who had his arm cut off, and a puncture through his gut, not to mention those energy bolt hits, and general abrasions from being knocked around. Jesus Christ, I got the shit kicked out of me. We get it." They chuckled again. "Whatever is in the purple gunk is amazing. If we could get our hands on it." The archangel who hadn't spoken yet chipped in. "Fuck. If we could copy that power suit, I'd be happy. That thing is great." "Don't forget, they're our allies now. I'm sure they'll share." Billy Bob smiled at that. "No shit? America's first non-human allies?" The apparent officer nodded at that. "What do you know of what's been going on?" "Two things," Billy Bob said with a smile. "Jack and shit." "You aren't what I expected from a pilot," Cal said. "Yeah, well, I wasn't some poncy snob in a regular fighter. I piloted a gladiator. Totally different animal." "So it would seem," the officer spoke up. "Well, you've managed to start an intergalactic war. The crabs started hitting UHG colonies. We think they wanted to hold a number of civilians hostage and make you surrender your friend." "Ah, so that's why we hit their planet. Was that a rescue mission?" "No, that was us making it clear we won't tolerate further attacks on civilians. Current estimates have it at 5,000 captured, around 12,000 dead." "Jesus Christ! Is that bad? Shit! I had no idea they wanted to stop us that bad. Fuck! I didn't even know those ass-faced crabs were cops till they ambushed us at the museum, and Emily told me. Also, how long ago was that?" 2 days. You've been out for a while," Cal said. "Where are we?" "We're on the same planet. Their AA is covering everything. We're working on extraction right now. Good thing is, for an old, well-developed planet, they've still got a lot of wilderness." Billy Bob nodded at that. "Xenos don't seem to care much for the frontier spirit, do they? Speaking of Xenos, though, how's Emily?" "She's fine. We've been teaching her about the benefits of camping," the leader said, as the other two chuckled. Billy Bob pushed himself up with a groan. His arm felt incredibly sore, but seeing as it had been cut off, he'd take incredibly sore. "Whoa there," Cal said, as he tried to stand up. "You've been out for 2 days. Take it easy there." Billy Bob was feeling the heat a little, but he just growled out, "I'd like to see you stop me." Then he paused and looked up, remembering he was talking to an archangel in power armor that could likely kick his ass even without it on her worst day and his best. Second thought, please don't try to stop me. Cal laughed at that, and held up a giant black armored hand as he steadied himself on it. Then he looked back at his bed and thought for a moment. "Wait, if I was out for 2 days, how did—" "You didn't have to go, thank God. Your friend said it was a side effect of that purple gunk." "Thank God," he murmured. He was wearing his standard olive drab green boxer briefs and a plain white tee. He was positive the Archangels all had the same undies, or at least the male ones. Everyone stole their GI boxer briefs after their service was up. They were actually high quality, super stain and smell resistant, and for once they weren't made by the lowest bidder. Overall, despite his space-age undies, he smelled like a guy who hadn't showered in 2 days. But that could be worse. "I'll just take a shower. Right?" They each shook their heads. "What? Why not?" "We're out in the wilderness, remember. Conserve water, just in case," the officer said, as Billy Bob groaned. "Now he sounds like a pilot," Cal said, and they laughed. Even Billy Bob smiled. Then he nodded at the officer and the other. And who are my rescuers anyway? Ah, I'm Captain Crunch. Yes, like the cereal guy. Billy Bob had opened his mouth and then quickly shut it. This is Sergeant Sampson. You met Sergeant Johnson. Outside we have Sergeants White and Inaovich. He's a loner from the Spetsnaz. What's the point in having a squad of sergeants? That's the lowest rank possible we'll accept into the Archangels. Billy Bob nodded. Well, all right then. Just makes me glad I'm not in the military still. He paused then, as the three looked at him, and his brain started to catch up. Except, war was declared, and I'm guessing all reserves were recalled. Fuck! Welcome back, Lieutenant. God damn it! And I'm immediately outranked by a captain. Isn't military chain of command wonderful? Billy Bob groaned, and then a light bulb went off in his head. Wait a minute, I'm valuable! He couldn't see the reaction of the two with their helmets on, but Cal was arching her brows. I want an immediate promotion. If I'm going to be important enough to warrant all this attention, I'm important enough to get promoted. You've got to be joking, Sergeant Sampson commented. The hell I am! Might as well milk this, because I'm guessing you guys are here more for Emily than me, and I'm guessing she's important enough to pull the strings diplomatically to ensure I get a promotion. He wasn't wrong, and they all knew it. That, as it may be, Lieutenant, Captain Crunch stressed. None of that will happen until we're off this planet. Fuck, Billy Bob muttered, since he knew that was also accurate. Well, what are the chances you guys are heading back to the museum on your own? None. To less than none. It's crawling with crabs. Why would we want to, anyway? They've got the Voyager in there. There was a pause before the captain spoke up. As in, the Voyager? The first man-made object to leave the solar system? Yes, that one. Tempting. We couldn't get it out with a crew this small. But you might be able to destroy the Nazi rocket that they have in there. They say it was the first craft to leave our orbit. No fucking way, Sergeant Sampson said, at the same time that Cal did. The fucking Nazis? Seriously? Where'd you guys think I got that snazzy MP-44 and Luger, huh? The captain began and stopped. For some reason that did not occur to me. And where's my Iron Cross, huh? He turned and looked at Cal, who glanced around for a moment. Iron Cross? I didn't see an Iron Cross. Billy Bob glared at her until she sighed. I stored it in a box in the cargo hold. Ha! Sergeant Johnson, taking personal effects from a wounded officer. That's grounds for punishment. Yeah, it is, Billy Bob said with a grin. Do you want to press charges, Lieutenant? You're damn straight. Wait a minute. What are we talking about? He asked, and looked back at the captain. Court-martial. Oh, no. Never mind. I was thinking of something very different. They all stared at him. What? It's been a while, and I nearly died the other day. So you haven't? The captain said, and sort of left it hanging as Billy Bob frowned as he tried to determine what he meant. Then his eyes widened. What? With Emily? They all nodded. No, she's a diplomat. And a Xeno. I've never, What? Like ever? Asked Cal. Not with a Xeno. Why not? You some kind of prude? Asked Sampson. No, it's just, back in high school, they showed us these projections. The captain stopped him there. No, you stop right there. Our generation swore to never mention those ever. Ever. Sorry, but they were asking. Cal looked incredibly confused, and Sampson likely was under his helmet. Didn't you hear that was all just fake, to scare us away from that sort of thing? Yeah, but how long before you risked it? The captain was quiet for a while. Fair point. But no, nothing like that exists. Why were you guys asking anyway? Billy Bob asked as he glanced around. The way she talks about you, Cal said, as the others nodded. She mentioned we needed to be careful of your sensitive neck. Billy Bob frowned at that, tilting his head a little, as he wondered what she meant before realization crossed his face. Oh, are you fucking kidding me? You know how if we like someone we might give them a hickey? They bite each other's throats? She told my car it. I nearly bled to death, and all she did was give me their version of a hickey. The others remained quiet for a moment as that sank in before Billy Bob continued. And I learned that all of her hands end in razor-sharp talons. You guys like it when your partner scratches your back? She'd rip my flesh off the bone. Yeah! How's that for dating the Xenos? Plus, I don't even know if her employment is similar to ours. After all, she's a space eagle raptor. As he said that, they all let out the sound of someone who just heard something that clicked. That's what they are. We were just calling them birds. Space eagle raptors. See, when we heard about the claws and saw the pointed beak, space eagle didn't sound right, Sergeant Sanson was saying. Totally agree with you, Billy Bob. Space eagle raptor, Cal said, as she nodded, before Billy Bob spoke again. Right. Well, you're all talking about me doing that with a space eagle raptor. I like Emily a lot. More than any Xeno ever by far, and better than most humans. But that shit might actually kill me. Literally. I don't know if I like her enough to risk dying for. Like that. Fuck, I'd take a bullet for her, but I don't know. The captain stood forward, looking down at Billy Bob. Well, Lieutenant, you won that promotion, right? This is how you get it. The fate of humanity's first Xeno alliance, and an incredibly important alliance at that now that sparked an intergalactic war, rests on you keeping that diplomat happy. So you do your country proud and you make sure that Xeno is happy. Billy Bob winced a little, but... The captain stuck a finger in Billy Bob's chest. No, you know I'm right. It doesn't have to be now, but you better figure out how to repay her feelings. Now, get out there and let her know you're all right. Billy Bob sighed and nodded, slowly limping out the airlock. Once he was gone, Cal spoke up. I really don't think our alliance is reliant on them doing it, sir, and I'm fairly sure she'd understand if he was hesitant. Oh, I'm sure you're right on both counts. She's very nice, but if he thinks he's getting a promotion without working for it, then he's wrong. Now then, let's go figure out how to get those star-crossed lovers off this planet. The Archangels chuckled and walked out the airlock, leaving Mittens alone in the cabin. The cat quickly took his chance, jumping from the counter to the nice warm bed the one who normally fed him had been hogging for so long. He curled up happily on the warm bunk and began to purr. And so ends another chapter in the adventures of Billy Bob, Space Trucker.